Hello, I am back for a second live stream session today. This is the Coding Train on YouTube. My name is Dan. I had some lunch. I'm fresh. I had a lovely sweet greens bowl with some like kale and cabbage and nuts. It was delicious. I've got some nice warm tea here. Slowing down with the caffeine. I'm feeling the music, and I'm back to talk about emptiness, the void, there is nothing. But now, higher order functions. So I had a session this morning. If you weren't here, you missed it, but it obviously was recorded and archived, and I started talking about this idea of higher order functions, what that means in JavaScript. Then I moved on to looking at higher order functions that are part of the array class or array object in JavaScript. And I think I got through map, fill, and reduce. I did, it was okay. I feel like I started out well, but then I kind of went on, there were two things that I didn't like. Number one is I did this whole example about passing a function in as a callback, and I feel like it didn't have any actual real world practicalness to it whatsoever, so I feel like that example wasn't so great. The example about returning a function, I think, worked better. And then also I feel like once we were kind of doing reduce, I was off into the weeds of cryptic syntax. But that's what I did. So what's going to happen this afternoon is I want to talk about filter. That's really, I guess I could talk about sort also. Then I want to take some of these array functions and apply them to one of my particle system examples to kind of like rewrite the code with this new functional style way with arrow syntax. Because that's what my nature of code examples are. That's actually how they're written right now if you go to the GitHub repository. So I'm going to kind of go through that. So that's the main thing. And then, oh my goodness, I don't know how much time for all this. I want to talk about inheritance and polymorphism. What is that? If you're asking yourself that question, good. Then you could stay and watch that. I should do at least one coding challenge. Maybe I'll just do a simple spring. The thing is, I want to get back into the neural network stuff. There's so much to get to there, but I don't know realistically what I'll have time for today. So we'll see. That's what's coming down the tracks, the coding train, choo-choo, chugga-chugga, choo-choo tracks, so to speak. So here I am. Boy, I hope someone's actually watching. I hope this is working. Am I streaming? Yes, there are people in the chat. Okay, so now I'm back over here. Let's see. Okay, but before I get started with any of that, while I was relaxing and having my lunch, I noticed some pull requests come in. So let's take a moment to go to Rainbow Code, which is actually now just github.com/codingtrain/website. And there are a lot of pull requests here. I need to get back into them. But let's look at this one that came in an hour ago, my contribution to the Fractal Tree Coding Challenge. Thank you to Niels Webb, who is the creator of the Coding Train website and approved these changes. Because, as I mentioned, something I would love help with, or hopefully I'll have time to implement it myself, is unit testing for this repository. In particular, does somebody's contribution that they're submitting, we can see it right here, does it break the build system for the website? Is there a syntax error? The system is being built with Jekyll, and this is a markdown format special for Jekyll, I suppose. Maybe this is like YAML somehow. I don't know. I don't know what any of this stuff is. What did I say YAML stood for? I mean, this is not what it actually stands for, but I like to think it stands for markup language. Okay. So thank you to Rajat. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this live. My soundboard is working again. How far can I zoom in on the merge button? I want to be able to do this through like some gesture. Oh no, wait, one more click. There we go. All right, so this has been merged. So what happens here? What is going on? If I go to thecodingtrain.com, this is the new Coding Train website. You can see here that there's a little note. At some point, it'd be actually great to have a little big like on air, live on air right now. The blinking red things on websites is a little probably passé, so to speak. But it could say, it does say tune in live right here. So now I want to go to coding challenges, and I'm going to look for fractal tree. 3D fractal trees, which is the one that was just contributed to. I think it was this one. So each challenge now has a card with a little thumbnail, the number, description. This will take you directly to YouTube to watch it, and this will take you to a page on the website where it looks like the site hasn't built yet. So let's make sure, which one did this go to? This one went to 14 fractal tree, and I am on 14 fractal tree. Just one refresh. And here we go. Now we can see that Rajat's contribution is here. Thank you for that. I am going to click on this. It uses CodePen. I love CodePen. And there we go. Beautiful work. I like how there's like a little bit of, first of all, a couple things. Let me mention. So this is an expansion off of mine for a number of reasons. Number one is I love the use of the different thicknesses of the branches. I love the fact that branching to the left and to the right both have different angles. And this sort of lovely addition of leaves, these green ellipses that look like they're rotated in a nice way towards the end. One thing that I think is interesting to look at. Now, it looks to me like this is running at a rather slow frame rate. So first of all, we could say, yeah, my computer, not the best computer in the world. It's kind of slow. It bears some responsibility here. But I think that's often a question when working on interactive animations, is you want to fill the screen with all your stuff that you want to draw, and because it's going to look the most beautiful, if you can layer the most leaves. But if you can't get up to probably at least 20, 24 frames per second, it's going to stutter, and perhaps that takes you outside of the feeling of, so there's a balance here. Yeah, there's a trade-off. Do you want perfectly smooth animation, or do you want to have as many layers of color and particle leaves things as you want? And I would say probably here, it's probably worth it with something like this if the idea is to have it feel like it's experiencing physics or in the wind, to like reduce the amount of stuff that is being drawn in order to gain a bit in the frame rate. So that's, and then of course there's always ways of optimizing things and using other environment. The canvas is a bit slow, just pure 2D canvas, especially with P5, which is a higher level library, so there's even some additional slowness there. All right, so I'm taking a look at the chat, and all right, so let's see what's going on. All right, now let's go to somewhere, just for a moment. I'm quite afraid. First of all, this has like blown my mind what's happened in the last week. So you may recall, if you've been watching, and if I even just go to my channel, that probably the most active playlist right now with new content is, I'm not logged in as myself, so it looks totally different. Let's go down to Nature of Code and Neural Networks. And so here is the neural network playlist, and I got, basically there's edited versions of everything that I've done in the live stream all the way down to coding challenge number 92. Now you might remember that I did a version of MNIST digit classification during the live stream. In the end, I opted not to edit that and post that as a standalone video. It was a bit of a mess. There's some things in it that there was like a major mistake in it where I forgot to normalize the values of the pixels of the image I was drawing. And it also was just, there was a lot of me fighting with DOM manipulation, which was really outside of the core content of looking at doing classification with a neural network. So I might come back to do that again in a more thoughtful way. But one thing that I've been, but all of these videos, if you get all the way through 10.18, which is right here, and you go to the that same website repository, and I go, again, I've really got to think the organizational structure of this, but if I go into courses under Nature of Code and 10.18, this is the code for the neural network library as I left it. Neuralnetwork.js, matrix.js. Now, if you've been following along, I'll just mention again briefly that I am trying to get to the point where I'm going to replace a lot of the internal mechanics of the machine learning system that I built from scratch in a very inefficient way with deeplearn.js, which is a JavaScript library for machine learning that is hardware accelerated. This also relates to a project that is happening, a research project at ITP right now called ML5, which is a higher level library on top of deeplearn.js. This is not exactly accurate, but you could sort of think, if you've heard of TensorFlow and Keras, Keras is a sort of higher level library to do machine learning stuff that's built on top of TensorFlow. ML5 is a higher level JavaScript library built on top of deeplearn.js. I could just click here for a second and go to examples, and we can see here, here's an example running. I guess this is a tabby cat. This is doing image classification with a pre-trained model, and you can see that the code is very P5 friendly. You're just creating an image with this kitten. You call this predict function, and you get a callback with results, and you see a label and a probability. So this is the idea of being able to create some sort of higher level tools to be able to access some of this machine learning stuff. Now, why am I talking about all this? So that's where I'm going, and I wish if I could just like be here live streaming every day, I think I would get further faster. But I also have to like research and try stuff out a little bit non-live streaming. I also have a full-time job, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. But what I wanted to mention is this code. So this is the code that matches exactly with the videos. However, there's also this repository, toy neural network JS. And I put the word toy in there because it wasn't my intention to have this be necessarily something that anyone would use for like real scientific work, maybe for some creative exploration or to educational purposes or just to sort of play and experiment with. But I've been amazed. I am like overwhelmed right now. There are currently 19 pull requests since last Friday, and I just really haven't had the time to review them. I've been following, I've read every single comment. I want to give a shout out to, where is this particular, is it an issue or a pull? Oh, no, let me look into the issues. To Versatilis on GitHub, who added this sort of summary of some of the things I've talked about. Like, these are some things that I hope to accomplish, referencing various pull requests and issues. That was not a notification from my Slack channel. Okay, good. And then some other things that I might do later, and there are some discussion. Then if I go to the pull request, there's like a pull request for adding some tests for more activation functions. There's a really amazing one for learning decay. There's another one for multi-hidden layer support. So I got to figure out what to do about this. I got to carve out some time to go through these and see what I can merge. And then I also kind of want to make a list. I'll probably keep this sort of like parallel thing going, where I'll let this go with community contributions, but some of the community contributions that are really helpful, I might try to like implement in my own way with the code that's part of the tutorial series. So this is what I'm thinking. No promises in ML5. I think I'm catching up late to the chat. I think there's some JavaScript promises joke going on. So why am I saying all this? So this I would love to get to a bit more today, but I don't know if that's realistic. And maybe what I need to do is work on this quite a bit outside of the live stream and come back and report on it the next time. But I was thinking, one thing I would like to have a simple classification example done as a video tutorial. And so what I'm thinking of doing is using, instead of doing the digits, I'm thinking of using the quick draw data set to do an MNIST-like data set. So because I think also something that's really easily forgotten is that the act of collecting and preparing your data in a thoughtful, ethical, and careful manner. Of course, it's fine to experiment and play and in a creative and exploratory way, but this is a project unto itself. So I think it's important, if we're going to have a tutorial series, it's not just like, oh, get the sample baked MNIST digit data set that everybody uses, although that's useful too. Anyway, so this is where I'm going. Oh boy, do I want to just do this right now. Oh! All right. But I also, like, I feel like it's a mistake for me to use MNIST as my core example. I hooked that up so that I could get notifications from people who are in this patron Slack channel in case like the microphone dies or something. For some reason, I'm getting all these other notifications on my watch. I gotta turn those off. Eventually, I'll get a good system. All right. So this is coming. This is what I'm gonna do next. Thank you to Rajiv Shah, whose blog this is from July 2017. I'm sure I will follow along to figure this out. And then there's so much we could do, because we could do clustering. Oh, so many possibilities. The quick draw data set is a really fun data set. Okay, and it relates to creative coding, I think, more than the digit stuff. All right, so. Okay, so now. Hammer goes off. Really going to install that magic lantern thing soon, I promise. My promise is pending. My promise is pending. It's not resolved yet. It has not been rejected, but it is pending. So where did I leave off? I left off this morning talking about reduce. So I'm going to do a video about filter. When I say video, I mean tutorial, and that will get edited into a separate video. All right. Where's my marker? Where's my code? So my system is terrible, but I'm going to go back to it, where I have the console. Oh, I'm in the wrong camera. The console up at the top. Notification coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am going to come here, and I've got this is where I left off. I looked at the reduce function and looked at how I could use reduce to find the largest value in an array, as well as reduce to add all the elements of an array together. Okay? So, filter is next. Let's do filter and sort. Why not, right? Okay. Yeah. I'm on the lookout, by the way. Me, I am so me sent me a suggestion. I looked into it for a way that I can make coding train branded train whistles. Because isn't that something that everybody wants? That could be a nice Patreon reward or something. I don't know. You all, I'm sure, would immediately subscribe to the Patreon if you would get a coding train whistle. All right, I'm back for another higher order function with JavaScript arrays video. And in this video, I will talk about filter. Filter is actually, to be honest, it might be my favorite one of these. It's lovely. So let's look at so filter, the word filter means. It's called filter for a reason, just like you might filter your water and filter out all the stuff you don't want. If you have an array that has some grime and stuff in it, you can filter it out. So how do you do that? It's a higher order function. So what that means is it expects as an argument some function. And what that function is, it's a function that receives as an argument itself an element of the array. And based on that element, it should return true or false. And I always forget this. I think it returns true if you want to keep it, and false if you don't want to keep it. So even though it's filter, you'd think true, I want to filter it out. I think it's true, I want to keep it. We'll have to try and look up in documentation. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. So this is where we last left off with this reduce stuff. You're still here after that. Thank you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this same little silly array. And I'm going to write a function, and I'm going to say it is, oh, interesting. Let's call this function is even. So what this function is going to do is it's going to take a number, and it will return true if it's an even number or false if it's an odd number. So it's going to, if num, and how do I do this? I can use the modulus operator. The modulus operator, see the coding train video from Golan Levin about modulus, is an operator that gives you the remainder of division. So if you divide something by 2 and get a remainder of 0, it's an even number. So if num modulus 2 equals 0, then I want to return true. Otherwise, I want to return false. Now, I always do this because this is the kind of person I am. I will write it in 7 lines of code to make it say exactly what it's doing, even if it can be done in 1 line of code. But this is a moment where I think it's worth, today, these videos are a little bit about reducing the amount of typing. It's worth saying that I don't need to say, if this is true, return true. If it's true, just return the fact that it's true. So this evaluates it true or false. I'm going to just return that. So I can do this. Now I should be able to say, whoops, I should be able to say vals.reduce is even. So the question is my array going to have only left in it the even numbers or the odd numbers? We could look it up in the documentation. I could speculate, but we could also just try it. Now, this shouldn't say reduce. This should say filter, of course. I should be filtering based on this function. Hello. And I'm pretty sure, let's just double check, I'm pretty sure that this is the case where it creates a new array and returns back like we saw with the map function. So if I save this here and I hit refresh, we're going to say, okay, so that's the original array. So this is not working yet. I want to say vals equals the new array. So I'm going to overwrite that variable with the new array that's been filtered. And I'm going to hit refresh. And there, we only have the even ones left. So we have the even ones left because this returned true. So if it returns true, keep the value. If it returns false, don't keep the value. And by the way, what I'm going to do with this later in like a particle system example is I have an array of all these particle objects. I could just say, filter out all the ones that are off the screen, or filter all the ones out that alpha has faded out to 0. So that's why this filter can become really, really useful. So let's now shorten this using ES6 syntax. One thing I might want to do is just use this as x. Right? Change this to x. Now I'm going to get rid of function. I'm going to get rid of the name. I'm going to put the arrow syntax in. I'm going to forget about this. And I'm going to get rid of the return because it's assumed. So basically, this is what I can do. Right? This is basically, I can now write that. I did that really quickly because I'm kind of assuming you've watched my previous videos where I step through that more slowly. But basically, I can say, hey, filter every value x based on the whether x modulus 2 equals 0. So this should give me exactly the same result. Again, this is the thing. This is why I hesitate. This is so unlike me. I would write this in like 10, but there's a wonder and beauty to this. Because even though I feel like this is cryptic and a little harder to follow, there is a moment, I think, after you get used to this arrow syntax and write a lot of these functions, and the comments are going on that I'm going to look at in a second, that you start to get used to this and this becomes a bit more intuitive and it actually can make the code more readable. Oh, there we go, it worked. Now I can say, let's just filter it out for the odd ones, equals 1. Now I have the odd ones. I could say not this. And that's like not the odd ones is also the even ones. And we can see, there we go. So wonderful. I'm going to take a look at the chat and see that I got some extra notes in there. Yeah, okay, so Alka in the chat points out that you can filter by truthy and falsy values, not just explicitly true or false. What does that mean? In other words, I could filter out, let's say I had an array of objects and a few of them were undefined, were empty. I could filter out any spots where something's undefined. So many things in JavaScript can be sort of like thought of as false or true based on its value. Like if an object exists, it's true. If it's undefined, it's false. So I could say, so this would say like, hey, I have an array with stuff in it. Oh, and this actually, oh, okay. So I could actually just do this. Right? That's what Alka is telling me. So I could check like, oh, filter out, just keep everything that's not undefined. Right? So this, if I did this, it would give me 5421 because I would filter out the undefined. But undefined is like a falsy value. So I could just filter out the items that like kind of turn into false things. And actually this is going to give me, yeah. right? So this worked as well. And I could say not x. Then I have an array with just undefined. OK, so I think we've seen, I think this has been good. I think we've seen filtered, filter, the function, filter. Do you have any questions? We're not actually in the same room at the same time because I'm recording a video. There is a live chat going on. Let me check if there's any questions. Oh, that's a great example, Alka. I love that. Oh, x modulus 2, for example. OK, OK. Two wonderful tips that just came in from the chat that I would love to show. This is great having a live chat while I record these videos. So let's say I wanted to do that even thing again, where I'm keeping only the even values. I had it like this, x modulus 2 equals 0. That's the even ones. Well, that's silly. X modulus 2 evaluates always to 0 or 1, 1 being true, 0 being false in a sort of truthy, falsy way. So I could have actually done this. And that's going to keep the odd ones. And if I were to say not, I think I'm going to need parentheses. Yeah, I'm going to need parentheses around this. And now I'm going to get the even ones. So that's lovely. Then there's a lot of times when you're working with strings that I've had this problem actually a ton. So let's say I have this is going to be useful. Let's say I have a string. It was a dark and stormy night. And what I'm doing is I'm saying let words equal s.split, and I'm going to use a regular, well, I'm just going to say split by space. And then I'm going to say console.log words. So you can see, it was a dark and stormy night. Now, oh, interesting. So, OK. So things could happen like, what if I had 2 spaces here by accident? And I hit refresh. Look at that. Because I had 2 spaces, I got an empty string by accident. Now, the truth of the matter is, if you watch my videos about regular expressions, I can be more thoughtful about the split, what I pass into split, and use a regular expression for a particular pattern to match. But even so, like you might not know, a regular expression is a way of creating a pattern. And so what I could do is say anything that's not a word character. And what I wanted to see here is, whenever I do this, I always get these extra empty strings. This happened even here. So this is something that I do in one of my previous videos. This is basically a secret code for saying split by anything that's not A through Z or 0 through 9. And that has to do with meta characters and regular expressions. But actually, I'm always having this problem where I get these extra empty strings. So I could always just have a filter now. Filter by s.length by s.length. So look at this. This should say, because it's true or falsy, if the string has and not s.length, right? If the string has a length of 0, I should filter it out. So now let's do this. We can see, oh, no, that didn't work. Not, maybe I shouldn't use s here. Let's use x. Filter x, not x.length. Oh no, x.length. I want x.length. The opposite. I was right. So I can use s here. I just was using s in too many places because it was a string. So word.length, right? So I want to use the length to evaluate the word whether it qualifies or not. I could, of course, say like greater than 3, right? If I want to just have only the 3-letter words, this will get rid of it and a. Now you can see I only have dark, stormy. It got rid of was, too, because it's not greater than or equals to. So you can see how this filter, you can chain these again, I've got these really long lines of code, which is very unlike me. But you can see I can chain this stuff. So I take this string, I split it up, so I have all the words. But you know what? I actually only want the words that are 3 or more characters. And instead of having to write a loop and an if statement and use splice, how I always do it, this is a nice, really one line of code kind of way of using filter. Oh, I'm happy about that. OK, So, thanks for watching this video. I hope this was helpful to you about filter, and I will come back in one more video. I might as well, I believe I've covered sort somewhere, but maybe I'll make a standalone video that's just about the sort function, and that'll be the last one that I'll do in terms of these higher order array functions. Thank you. Okay. So Tim asked, will you merge the pull requests on the toy neural network repository? I want to. I'm a little overwhelmed by how many contributions there were, and I want to be thoughtful about it. I guess I could just kind of like, what I usually do with open source projects like this is I just merge. But I've learned that maybe it's helpful to like have a process and be more thoughtful about it, so I'm going to try to do that. All right. Right, I don't even need dot length. Right. Because an empty string would evaluate to false. But what if I had the word false in there, I could have a problem, right? Look at this. It was a dark and stormy false night. If I do this, oh no, false made it. How interesting. I would have thought this would evaluate to, I would have thought, quote, false in quotes would evaluate to false. All right. False will be truthy. False does not equal false. Okay. Well, what do I know? I don't know any of this stuff. Maybe merge video again. All right, sort. Oh, we're so close. I don't really, we'll do sort. It's fine, because I'm just here. I got to do sort. Okay. Now, one thing I want to do with sort, let's use, what's a good, often I'm finding myself that I want to sort an array of objects that's often by a certain property of that object. So I guess I could just make something up. Or could I find like a JSON file with some data in it that I could use, that I could sort? Let's think about this. Yeah, word counts. Actually, so you know what? Let's do the word counting thing. That's where I covered sort. Word counting, Schiffman, sort. Oh, so somewhere in here, I bet you, I do it in this video. Oh, but that's a processing one. I think I have a JavaScript one where I do it. Anyway, but we'll do it here. This is perfect. Okay. Ah, wrong thing. All right. Okay. Sort the colors. Oh, sort the colors of a rainbow. I don't know why I'm so standing in front of the code so much today. All right, if you've actually managed to sit through and watch all of these videos about all of these different functions, I'm kind of amazed. And really, the truth of the matter, the point of what I'm doing is not to like, because there's a lot more of these array functions, did I say this already in a previous video, but is not to go through all these one at a time and explain every single one, as useful as that possibly might be in some cases. But if you can kind of understand how they work and then figure out how to look up in the reference, in the documentation, you can look at all the array functions and figure them out for yourself. But I'm here. Let's do one more really useful one. Let's talk about sort. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to come back to this word stuff because we're going to need that in a second. But let's just look at this array of vals for a second. So I'm going to say console.log vals, And I'm just going to say vals.sort with no function passed in and console.log vals. So let's see what happens. And let me give this the number 9. I'm going to hit refresh. And we can see, look at that. It sorted it in numerical order from lowest to highest. That's ascending order. And in fact, it didn't make a new array. It sorted exactly that array. So this is important to realize. This is a distinction that we've really got to pay attention to. So far in looking at these, filter makes a new array. Reduce doesn't make an array. It reduces things down to a single. It could make an array, but that's a special case. Reduce and map make a new array. Fill fills an existing array, and filter and map, new array. Fill and sort act on an existing array. Reduce is a special case. So that's kind of important distinction between all of these. But how did it know to do that? Well, sort, you kind of would say oh, I sort. It should sort by, numerical order. And if these were words, A, hello, B, goodbye, you would guess it's going to sort them in alphabetical order. Now, if this is capital B, that shows up first because it's actually going to sort by capital letters first. If there was something else that I was going to look at here. What was I going to say? Capital B. Yeah. If it's also numbers and letters, it's going to first put the numbers and then in numeric order and then the letters in alphabetical order. So there's a default way that an array will be sorted. Now let's look at this case. What if I had just an array of objects? So what if my array was actually something like a bunch of XY pairs? So this is now an array, and I auto-formatted for me, of 2 objects, each with an X and a Y. Well, what if I sort that? Well, it didn't change the order. 5, 6, 2, 10. All right, well, let's be sure about this. Let's say 2, 10, 5, 6, and let's do it again. 210 is first, well, that's there, and now after sorting it, 210, it's the same order. So this is the thing. There is a default way of sorting stuff, but JavaScript, the sort function, only knows that default way for certain kind of obvious things, like numbers and strings. If you want to sort something yourself, you need to write your own comparing function. This is why sort is a higher order function, because it expects, the sort function expects as an argument a function which you could call the comparer or the comparator. That's not actually a word. I just feel like there's all sorts of goofiness in Java with these long-winded, strange words. But you need to write a function that compares. And what does that function look like? So let's come back over here. So let's say for this particular case here, what I wanted to do is I wanted to sort this by the Y values. So I would write a function. I'm going to call it compare, and it's going to compare 2 elements. This higher order function requires 2 arguments, 2 elements of the array, and it's your job to say which one should go before the other. And the way that you can tell, the sort function to do that is by returning a positive or negative number. And I can never remember which is which, but positive maybe means A goes before B, negative means B goes before A, and 0 means they're equivalent, or it's the other way around. I always just try it both ways, and eventually I figure it out. So for example, I could say return A.y minus B.y. Right? That makes sense, because in this case we're going to have 10 minus 6 is 4, or 6 minus 10 is negative 4. So if I put that compare function right here in vals, and I hit refresh, we're going to see that 6 comes before 10. Let's change this to B minus A, and we're going to see that 10 comes before 6. I know this is small, but can you see that? 10 comes before 6. So this, and if they're equal, right, that value is going to be 0. So what other ways can we have fun with this? Well, let's go back to this. It was a dark and stormy false night. I was trying to think with false. Let's put this back in here. And let's say what I did with filter in the previous video is I filtered out all of the words after I split up this text that were less than 3 characters. And let's just split out, let's actually, well, 3 or less. So let's make it 2 or less. So let's just make sure this still works. We can see, oh, vowels is not defined. I'm going to comment this out. I'm not using that anymore. So I'm just going to look at this code. And I'm going to see, OK, so that's my was dark and stormy night. Now, if I were to just say, right before here, words.sort, I would get and dark night stormy was. But what if I wanted to sort by the length of the words? So I would need to write a compare function. And so I could start doing this with function, compare, a, comma, b, return. But here's the thing. I'm trying to use, as much as possible, this arrow syntax to be able to sort of inline right there, have the function that does the compare all in one line in a very condensed way. Let's try to do that. Maybe we've done it. I've done it enough times now that I don't need to write it first as a long-winded function, then make it an anonymous function, then an arrow function. Let's do it all at once. So I'm going to, this is very exciting. I'm going to say word. Oh no, so this is a comma b, right? I always forget. So this is the sort, the compare function requires 2 arguments, 2 elements of the array that I'm going to compare. I'll keep this a and b sort of variable naming. It's totally arbitrary. I could call it cat and dog. Then I want to return the difference between the lengths. If one's length is bigger than the other, it should be after it. So I'm going to say b, and I don't need to say return. I'm just going to say b.length minus a.length. So this should give me now a way of sorting the array where the longer ones appear at the end. And let's see, I probably got this backwards. I always get it backwards. I got it backwards, of course, where the longer ones are at the beginning. So, I could have figured that out, but in the end, I could just say a minus b. And then there we go. Was and dark stormy. So you can see 3-letter, 3-letter, 4-letter, 5-letter, 5-letter. So this is the way that you can sort. You can sort custom any list of any array of stuff based on however you want to compare 2 elements of that array. All right. Now, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have to say. I think that's it. So we were done. We've gotten through all this stuff. What I want to do now is I want to look at taking a lot of these concepts into a kind of classic creative coding scenario, a particle system, and using a higher order function to write a bunch of ways of managing, to do a bunch of things to manage that array of particles. And I'll do that in the next video, which you may or may not choose to watch. Thanks very much. Okay. Okay, I should be back. I didn't check the sound or anything, but I think everything's hopefully working. Let me know if there's any weird glitches in the sound or video, but I am back. All right, sorry about that. I don't know why the stream crashes every once in a while, but it does. So I'm so excited to get out of this weird, silly way that I have the screen here. And let's get to the, now, let's see if I can find, I want to look at the particle system, coding challenge. And I can't remember. Yeah, so this I didn't use. Maybe it's fine. I didn't use p vectors. I mean, p5. I didn't use create vector for this simple challenge. And what I want to do is the filtering and the. Yeah, I think it's fine. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. So what I'm going to do, this is exciting. I'm going to go to thecodingtrain.com and I'm going to go to coding challenges and particle systems. I'm going to go here and I'm going to hit get the code. Let's see what this gives me. Oh, that's going to give me the processing one, which is fine. That's what I did it in. No, it's JavaScript. Oh, great. This is the JavaScript one. So I'm going to put this now on the desktop. And I am going to go to terminal. And I'm going to go to desktop, particle system, and open it up in Atom. So here we go. So look at this. Look at this. Look at this horrificness. I'm going to, so what are the things that I'm going to do? Let's just run this. So this is the particle system. So I can use filter to filter out particles that I no longer need to draw anymore. I could use like reduce to find the centroid of all the current particles and draw that as something. What else could I do? I mean, sort I could do in a weird sort of way to sort the particles by like where they are on the screen, but I don't know what I would visually do with that. I mean, I could assign them a color based on where they are, but I also just know their Y position. So, what other ideas do people have? The ideas that I have that are, I mean, I could use map for something probably. So filter I definitely want to use, and a for of loop. For of loop, filter, what else? Z sorting. I was going to do the Z. Oh, Z sorting. That's a great idea. Which are on top. Ah, that's a great idea. Because with fake depth, I want to draw them in a certain order. So but visually, what do I want to do? Like sort them by their color or something? Yeah, I'll do that. So I'll give them like a random brightness value and then sort them by that or something like that to draw them in that order. That's great. Okay. So just for the sake of argument, right? So I could sort them. So like, and actually I could give them no alpha. And I could always draw them so the brighter ones are on the front. So I'll make this change later. That's a great one. Okay, what else? Rotate their XZ to make it look like a camera going around them. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, so I don't want to get too crazy with it. I just want to demonstrate the fact that you could sort them and have like fake depth because of that. Okay, I'm not seeing any other suggestions. So I have a sort, I have a filter. I mean, maybe that's enough. I could use fill, but to start with a bunch, but that doesn't really, I don't care about using map. And reduce, I'll do the centroid with reduce. Why not? Okay, great. Sort is also useful for sorting a population by fitness in genetic algorithms, yeah. Okay. All right. I feel like, so one thing I want to do is I think it makes sense for me to put this in a separate file, even though I did. So I'm going to make a separate particle.js file because I'm going to keep using this for the inheritance and polymorphism stuff. Particle.js. And then index.html. I need particle.js. I don't need the sound library. Everything's good. Sketch is now a little simpler. Oops. Let's just improve this a little bit. Okay, great. Just want to give myself some more space in the console. There we go. All right, I think I'm in good shape. So this is coding challenge 78. All right. Okay. I could use fill to populate the initial array. All right, so maybe we'll try that too. Okay. Hello, welcome to a video about higher order array functions. So I just made a bunch of individual videos with kind of some non-real, some like made up scenarios to cover map, sort, reduce, filter, and fill. And I thought there might be a way of making use of all those functions to improve, I don't know if it'll really improve, but to change, to adapt my coding challenge number 78. Simple particle system. So this is the coding challenge. This is the code. It's got an array in it. I'm doing everything rather manually with a loop. What can I do to use these functions? So let's start with fill. So the first thing I want to do is, let's see if I can use fill to start the array with like 100 particles. So I could say new array 100. And then, so here's the thing. So I could say, let's say, I could write a for loop, right? Normally what I would do is I would have a for loop, I equals 0, I is less than, particles.length, or less than 300, particles index I equals a new particle. Maybe you've seen that before, but let's say particles.fill. Now here's the thing. This is what I want to do. This is not going to work by any stretch of the imagination. This is kind of like what I want to do, but it will not work. I want to make a new particle, and I want to fill the whole thing. But this is a problem. Let's just run this and see if we get some errors. Weirdly, that worked just fine. But let's not add any particles in draw. And let's look at the array, and it is completely empty. So the reason is fill needs to fill an array that has stuff in it already. So what I could do I'll just give you. Weird. I would have thought, no, because I have to map. I should just start over. I'm looking at the chat because I could see, get rid of the new keyword, right? Because I could, I'm just sort of curious for a second here. No, but it's not a, yeah, I know it. All right, what I want to do, I thought it would have been 100 references to one particle. But maybe because I updated it, and it moved, you know what? Okay. Let me start this over because I know what's going on now. Let me start all the way back from the beginning. All right, so let's see. Let's start by saying the, what happened here? Let's start by saying particles is a new array with 100 spots. Now, in theory, what I kind of want to do is this. Particles.fill new particle, right? I want to just say, hey, fill all the spots with a new particle. And I already told you there's 100 spots there. This is kind of going to do something interesting. I'm going to actually, just to demonstrate, I'm going to take out adding particles in draw. And I'm going to run this real quick. And say, oh, did you see something there real fast? Look at that, real fast. What was that? Well, actually, what it did is it made a new particle, and it put that new particle in every spot in the array. But it's all pointing to the same particle object. I need a different particle object in every spot. So in this case, I've actually really got to use the map function. So I can fill the array with like emptiness, and then use the map function to create a new particle for each and every spot. So what I could do here is I can just say fill dot map, and then each element, I'll call it P, should be a new particle. So this now should give me, whoops, what did I get wrong here? Particles.fill map P is a new particle. That looks right to me. Hopefully there's 100 undefined spots. Yeah. Fill requires an R? No. Yeah, that didn't work either. No. Oh! It's making a new array. Ugh! It's making a new array. Map returns a new array. Ah! Why didn't this work? Okay, so here's the problem. I forgot. I know maybe this isn't the greatest thing to do because map requires a new array, so this is all sort of silly that I'm doing here. So it would make more sense for me to say this, because why make a new array twice? So what I want to do is make a new array, fill with nothingness. I could put null in here, and then map. I don't like where this... And then map to new particles. I hate this. There, that worked. I got a little burst of 100 particles. Can I take out this null? Yes. So I don't know. Do we like this? This is almost ridiculous. I don't know if I really need this, but it works. I have a particles, which is an array of 100 particles, and each element is a new particle object. And you can kind of see that one line of code. Great. OK, so we used, in this video, we now used fill. Oh, and we used map. Oh, how lucky for me. And again, I've really got to pay attention to what just acts on the current array, what makes a new array. All right, so what can I use next? Let's go ahead and use filter. I'm going to show you something interesting about filter. So if you've gone through this if you've watched this challenge and looked at this code, look what I'm doing here. I have this very awkward loop that loops through the array backwards. Using the index, I access each element of the array. I update, I show, I check this finished function. If that finished function returns true, I use the splice function to remove it out of the array. So I can really improve this. Let me add this back in, where it adds 5 new elements to the array. And maybe there's a way I can do that with one of these higher order functions. There we go. Now we can see here's the particle system. One thing I could do to improve this is let's just use the for of loop. So for every particle of particles, this is a loop that's part of a loop structure that's part of the JavaScript ES6. I have a whole video just about this loop. It's saying every single element of the array, reference that each element in the variable particle. So I can just say here particle.update, particle.show. So that's nice. I like that already better than this down here, which I'll comment out. So this is a nice, simple way of iterating through every element. And there we go. I probably should use the for each loop since this is about higher order functions. So we can see this is the same. But now, let's look at particles.length. 1975, 2190. It's not deleting any of the particles as they fade out. So how can I do that? I can say, instead of having to check each one and remember the index and use splice, I can now say particles.filter. And what do I want to filter? Now remember, I can write the function to return true or false to tell it whether to keep it or not. If you watched my video on filter, all in line using the arrow syntax. So really what I'm trying to write here is I want to write a function like keep, and it receives a particle, and I'm going to return p.isFinished, right? And ultimately, I want to keep it if it's not finished. So this is the function that I want to write to filter everything out. It returns true if it's not finished, so keep it. But I can just write this as and not. So look at this. Now, and I have to remember, on my list, filter is one of those ones that returns a new array. So this actually isn't going to do anything unless I say particles equals particles.filter. Filter them all out based on the isFinished property. And now, okay, isFinished is not a function. I just called it finished. Okay. And there we go. Now, is this really working? Let's check. Particles.length, 255, 255. It makes sense that it's always 255 because its lifespan starts at 255 and goes down by 1, and I'm adding like 5 per frame. Somehow the math works out that it's like nicely 255. That's very interesting. All right, so look at this. Now, the reason why, this particle system example is a bit of a simplified version of my nature of code ones. I just want to really briefly go to github.com/Schiffman/the nature dash why is code dash examples dash p5.js. So if you want to see more examples that do this, and I go into chapter 4 systems, I have a lot of particle system examples. Here's one with systems of the particle system class. You can see I am now doing this in my examples with some extra comments. So this is now, if you want to see many more examples where I'm kind of using this type of ES6 style to operate on an array of particles, you can check out these examples as well. Okay, what else can we add to this? Let's use, what else can we add to this? Let's use reduce. So let's see if we can use reduce. So one thing that I might want to do with reduce is something that happens in my flocking examples, for example, is I want to calculate like what's the center, what's the average location or the average velocity of everything. So let's compute what's known as the centroid, which is a term for the average location of a position of a collection of things, the center of it. So let's think about how I would do this. I can get rid of all this now. So I want to say particles.reduce. And remember, reduce always gets an accumulator and a particle. Right? There's an accumulator and a particle. And what I want to do is I want to add up each particle's location. So there's a bunch of different ways I could do this. For example, I think it might be simpler right now to just do it with the x and y. So first, let's just calculate this x. I'll call it cx for center x. And this is going to be, I'm going to call this x. So the x is just to have like shorter variable names. X is the accumulator. P is each particle. So what I want to do is say x plus p dot x. Right? I want to add up all the x values of p. This is not going to work, right? Because remember, if you watch my reduce video, the accumulator has to have an initial value. If you don't specify, it's the first element of the array. Well, what's the first element of the array? It's the particle object. So in this case, I can't like add the x value. I want the first element of the array to be the first particle's x value. But what would be simpler here would just be to explicitly initialize it at 0. So I can then say just comma 0, and this should give me the center x location, right? I'm adding up all the x values. Now I need to divide by the length, but so this is really sum x, I'll call it. The sum of all the x values. This would be sum y. And I'm going to do this, and just to rename the variables, I'm going to do this, right? And then I should be able to say center x equals sum x divided by particles dot length, and center y is sum y divided by particles dot length. And let's just draw a nice, red circle right there, and see what this looks like. Let's see if I got this right. There we go. You can see that's always the average center of all the particles, the centroid of all the particles. So again, what have I done here? I could have written a loop. I could have said sum x equals 0 before the loop. Every element of the loop, I say sum x plus equal the particle.x. So I don't know, have I improved anything? But this is a way that you could write it using a higher order function called reduce. Now, could I do this in one line? Could I do this without separate x and y values? And I can. Let's look at that. So one way I could do that, you know what, though the particles don't have vector objects. So I might almost want to leave this as an exercise. I'm going to leave this in some way. So what I would say is go to, where was that? Go to this particular example, right, where I'm actually, here, each particle, if I go to this example in Nature of Code, and I look at the particle object, the elements are actually P5 vector objects. So how would you write this function to add everything up with a P5 vector? So I think we could actually do this here. Let's do this here. Okay, so let's say I were to say, I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to say let sum, I'm going to say sum v, which is the vector sum, be create vector 0, 0. That's the accumulator. Right? That's going to be that's the accumulator. I'm going to make an empty vector at 0, 0. Then I'm going to say, I'm going to call this accumulator v. Then I'm going to say let sum v equal, I'm going to do the same exact thing. Particles reduce this accumulator, which is v, which is going to be a vector, p, then say v dot add, because I'm going to use the p5 vector syntax. Whoa, this is really crazy. P dot x, p dot y. So I believe the P5 vector object has an add function, and I can add to the vector the x and y components directly. And then I'm going to give this as the initial value of the accumulator. So really what I probably want to do is just put this right here, be a little less confused. But this is a this is like a crazy one line of code. I can't even fit it on the screen here. There we go. Right? I'm reducing, let's see if we got this. I'm reducing the array. I'm going to accumulate a bunch of vectors, with the first vector being an empty vector with 0, 0 in it. And then for each one of those, I'm going to add to it each particle's x and y. And then I'm going to say, I know I'm standing in front of the code right now. I'm going to say sum v divided equal particles.length. Oh, I can't do that. I have to use, it's a vector, I have to use the divide function. Divide by the total number of particles. And then I'm going to say sum v dot x and sum v dot y. So let's see how this goes. Are you actually still watching this video? Because I'm like going off the deep end with all these things. I'm never going to. Okay, let's go back to my sketch. Same result. So that's working to calculate the centroid. So you've seen now I can use filter, I can use reduce. Here's let's look back at the list. Filter, reduce, fill, map. Still have sort. So this video is just going to be longer. I'm going to use sort in this video. So here's the thing. I don't think that the code is necessarily going to run faster or more efficiently this way. And this could be a problem if I have a particle system with thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of particles. I really want, probably then, a simple for loop is going to actually execute the fastest. But there's something nice about learning how these functions work and sort of seeing how this can be done, because you will especially see these in libraries that are manipulating large amounts of data, in JavaScript libraries that are kind of using this sort of style of coding. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Let's do sort. So I'm going to, let's do some. So one thing you could do about sort is you could, like, why would I want to sort these particles? Well, one thing might be, pause for a second. Why would I want to sort these particles? Well, one reason might be, what if you're first of all, if you're actually in 3D space, it's sometimes advantageous to know the Z order of things, because you might want to draw them in that order related to how the alpha or the blending and various things are working. But I'm not in 3D. But even in 2D, what if I wanted to have some type of layering system where I always wanted certain things to be drawn over other things, even if they're out of order in the array? Because right now, I'm only going to draw things in the order that they are in the array. So let's create kind of a fake scenario that will do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the main sketch, a particle, and I'm going to add, oops, no, I'm going to go to particle, and I'm going to add, I already did this actually. I'm going to add a color variable, which is just a random brightness value. Between 0 and, I guess technically this can be random 256, because I can get 0 through 255. And then I'm going to fill by this dot color, and I'm going to get rid of the alpha. So there's going to be no alpha now. Let's look at this. Whoops. Let's go back. I'm going to run this. And I'm going to get rid of the centroid, just so we don't have that big red dot for no reason. I will obviously leave this in the code. Go back to here. Now look at this. So there's obviously a layering going on here. The layering happens to be just the order that the particles were added. But what if what I wanted to do, for example, was always have the brighter ones appear on top of the darker ones? I don't know that that will produce any visual value, but you can imagine a scenario where you're actually thinking about layers and depth. And maybe you create fake Z variable for each object or something like that. So I could sort them by their brightness. So let's look at that. If I go now back to Sketch, before I draw them, I could say particles.sort. And remember, when I sort, I need to create a function. And again, I'm using this arrow syntax just almost automatically now. Is this working for you? Please let me know. Does all these videos help you kind of just see it? Where I start with two elements of the array, A or B. And now it's up to me to return a value that says which one should be before the other. And so I can actually just say A.color minus B.color. Because if you return a positive number, a negative number, that means a positive number means one is before the other, a negative number means the other is before the other, and then 0 means they're equal. That's how you're telling it to sort. So this should be a way of sorting the array. And sort actually manipulates the existing array, not making a new one. So this now, if I run this, we should see, look at that. The brighter ones are always on top of the darker ones, which is kind of an interesting effect. Again, you know, you could probably invent your own scenario of layering as to why you want to do this. But now we have a particle system, coding challenge 78, that has map and fill to create an initial set of particles. It has sort to sort the way I'm drawing them based on brightness. I'm using a for of loop to be able to iterate through all the particles. And I'm using filter to filter out, whoops. And I'm using filter to filter out particles that I no longer need, that have faded out. As a bonus, I think it would be interesting for me just to try to use for each. I've never actually used it, right? So I could also say, if I really want everything to be a higher order function, I could say particles for each, right? And then I could say this. But I need multiple lines of code. So I'm going to say p.update All the laws of physics are like exploding around in my head as I'm using a for each loop. I can't believe I'm doing it. So is this right? Let's just run this. Hey, and let's put the centroid back in. There we go. So I can't believe I just did this, but a for each loop, what a for each loop does is says, apply this function to every element of the array, and my function is to update and show. If, incidentally, because I have 2 lines of code, I have to write out the full curly brackets, but I could do this. I don't know what the point of this would be. But if I just wanted to write it like this, just to be like kind of a crazy person for today, I could say update all of them, show all of them. And sometimes you actually want to get through updating all of them before you draw all of them. So this would do that. Let's see. And there we go. I'm like, am I a function? Do I qualify as a functional programmer? I seriously doubt it. But I have gone through and hopefully shown you a bunch of techniques for applying the arrow syntax and functional higher order functions of JavaScript arrays in this video. Hopefully you learned something. It will improve or help something you're doing in the future. Please let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. Oh, chaining. Yeah, chaining. Use chaining and do this. Okay, that's for another day. I'm reading the chat for a second here. It is 3:40. Okay, so I really did get through all this content about functional stuff. Any more stuff today? Yeah, I wanted to do inheritance and polymorphism. Oh, that's interesting. Someone is asking me to turn around the layering just to see what that looks like. Yeah, that's also interesting. Oh yeah, that's too crazy for me. Me, I am so me. Getters and setters. Oh, yeah, we'll see. I definitely need to cover that at some point. Now, let's think about how to do this. I'm going to erase the whiteboard. We're going to move on to the next topic. I think I should just admit that I'm not going to be doing the neural network stuff today, but I should do at least one coding challenge. By the way, it's interesting to watch my YouTube analytics. I'd be happy to share some of that at some point, but so I almost the videos get edited and I try to release one every single day. I usually do it sometime between 7 a.m. and 12 noon Eastern time because I'll remember at some point. But if you look, so the graph of the analytics is always all these spikes of where I release the video each day. But there's if I release a coding challenge video, the double pendulum was 3 times as high as some of the other stuff. Interesting to see. All right, let's erase all this. Oh, I totally forgot to talk about Google Summer of Code. I usually do that at the beginning because, but who knows? Maybe there's a bunch of people watching now. I could mention this too. Let's take a pause for a second for me to mention Google Summer of Code. So if you are a student, you have to read the Google website in terms of eligibility, but if you're a student, you are eligible to apply for a Google Summer of Code. Let me just search. Google Summer of Code. Okay. So this is the Google Summer of Code homepage. This is a program that I have participated in almost every year. There was one year that I missed. When processing was not an organization for Google Summer of Code for the last 5 or 6 years. If you click here and go to View Organizations, these are all the These are all the organizations that applied and were accepted by Google to be part of Google Summer of Code. And again, I'm not an official representative of Google here. I'm just telling you about it. I am participating through, if I keep scrolling down, eventually I will find the Processing Foundation. So I am one of the administrators for the Processing Foundation. I think I must have gone past it. There it is. So the way that Google Summer of Code works is if you're a student, you can apply to work on one of these open source projects for the summer. You'll be assigned a mentor. For example, if you apply to processing, I will hopefully be a mentor for a project this summer, along with many other people. Google pays you a stipend. I believe you should really read all the FAQ materials, because eligibility and whether you're eligible is not something the Processing Foundation, or the organizations decide. That's something that Google does. And how you're paid and what based on where you live and that sort of thing is also all done by Google. But if you click on here, so I'm going to show you the Processing Foundation. Obviously, you should look at all these organizations. But if you go here, you'll see here's the Processing Foundation, Creative Code and Graphic Design. If you go to learn more, you'll get to the Processing Foundation page, which has some more information. And then you'll want to click on View Ideas List. And this will take you to our GitHub page that has a lot of things that we're looking for help with, like improving P5.js WebGL, testing and updating mobile functionality, improving file IO method, update hello.p5.js website, P5.js web editor, classroom management system, utilize the audio work, etc. There's lots of stuff here for P5.js, then for processing, desktop environment, analytic visualization tool. So these are all just suggestions. Also, I should mention very clearly that this is that one of the things we always consider are just libraries for processing or add-ons for P5.js. And if you want to discuss your idea, and you can go to forum.processing.org and go to Summer of Code 2018. And then, oh my goodness, look at all these things that have been posted here already. I've got to get reading through these. So people have, and there's been some comments already. So this is where you can make a post about your idea and hopefully get some questions answered. You can also tweet at me at Schiffman. Yeah, so if you're interested, I encourage you to apply. It's a wonderful program, and it's super helpful as somebody who works on a sort of volunteer-driven or donor-funded open source project. These kind of programs where you get a large amount of help and support over an intense period of time is really does wonders for the project. If you want to see what we did last summer, if you go to medium.com/@processing.org, this is where we have a bunch of posts about recent things, but one of these is Google Summer of Code Wrap-Up, Processing, Medium. We can find 2000, yeah. So this is a post on Medium that goes over these are all the Google Summer of Code students from last year and all the different projects for processing that they worked on. So I encourage you to check this out. Okay, I wanted to mention that. So the question now becomes, Aditya writes, you never reply to the tweet. I do. I read all my mentions and I try to reply to all of them. Sometimes I miss one or two. I get not attached to my glowing rectangle all day long. I have to put it aside for large portions of the day and time and weeks. But I do. Do 2048 that you promised us a few weeks ago. Ah, interesting. Interesting. That is not the worst idea I've ever heard. I wanted to look into that a bit more and think about it a bit more before I came and did it, but I want to do something simpler. But I think I should do. All right, so let's think about this. What time is it? 3:40. So I really only have an hour. All right. Wonderful people watching. Inheritance. and polymorphism with particles. 2048. Simple spring challenge. This is what I want to do. Simple spring. Like a spring, like boing. Spring simulation. Not like the springtime with flowers blooming, although that would be wonderful too. Oh, 2048 is going to make me so crazy right now if I try to do that. But it is kind of, it would be good to try to do that. I think I should do it in JavaScript though, because I can use all the higher order array functions. It's kind of fun. All right. Let's see what you guys think. I need a little break actually, so I can let all of you watching, excuse me, put your votes in right now. Yeah, I know. 2048 drove me crazy before, and so the reason why I didn't end up releasing that is because I wanted to go back and like think about it again. But okay, I'm going to take a short break. I'm going to mute myself, and I'll be back. All right, I have come back. It is time to relax, have some quiet time. Let's read the last numbers in the book. This is the very last page. These are Gaussian deviates. They're like my favorite kind of numbers. They're Gaussian, they're deviate. 0.330. 0.976, 0.337, negative 0.043, negative 0.476. Some of the other ones were negative before I didn't realize that. 1.577, negative 0.775, negative 0.106, 0.189, negative 0.122. All right. You can all see the results, right? I'm going to vote for the spring challenge. That's the easiest for me, I think. I can't look. I see something that's green with a lot of space in it. Okay. Really? Seriously? Oh, nobody's interested in this inheritance and polymorphism. This is kind of pretty good. I could make a few people happy by doing the spring, please. Unicorns and rainbows and cupcakes. What else is there? Yes, kittens. Thank you very much. Kittens and rainbows and cupcakes. Notice that. Look what I get. I'm really losing my mind. Okay, let's do it. All right. We're going to do this. I never bothered to really think through what I did wrong before, but I'm going to let's go for it. Okay, I've got an hour. There's no chance of getting this done in an hour. Okay. P5G-B 2048. CD20. I'm going to definitely do this in JavaScript now because the array stuff I think will actually be much easier. 400, 400. And I mean, it wouldn't make sense to use DOM, but okay. I'll do it in Haskell. Oh, wait. I've got a secret Kate Weekmont sent me his code. All right. Oh, I've lost where I am. All right. So what do I need here? Okay, so now I need to be where? Let's get rid of this. Inheritance and polymorphism will come another. I'm kind of, to be honest with you, I'm very happy to not do the inheritance and polymorphism right now because I'm a little tired of just kind of technical JavaScript stuff. I do need to come back to that because that I think is core material to be to be a part of the tutorials on my channel. All right. Let's now go to 2048 and 2048 Wikipedia. I already erased the whiteboard. All right, let's think about this. What was the problem I ran into before? The main problem the main problem I ran into before, why not background 51, asks C Creative, a good question. Oh, see, the thing is, you know when I should be doing 2048? I should be doing it about 9:30 in the morning when I'm like fresh and just had some breakfast and arrived at work. Doing it at 4 p.m. on a Friday after I've been live streaming all day is pretty much a terrible idea. Right, but the nice thing about doing this is the more of these that I have, the more I can build little machine learning systems to play them, which I do eventually want to get to. Why is this? Oh, my keying has a little bit of noise like in it today. Why? What can I do here? Is that better? It's a little better, I think. All right, so it would make sense to do this with DOM elements, but I'm going to do this with Canvas. All right. where do we go here? Okay. Oh, look what's pulling into the station. It's the classic game 2048 that I always try to program and completely fail at. So here's another attempt. You hopefully haven't seen the previous attempt, but there was a live stream where I tried to do this and kind of ran into a lot of problems. I'm going to attempt to make the game 2048. If you're not familiar with it, check out the link in the description. Play it. This game, according to this website, was written in JavaScript and CSS during a weekend. By Italian web developer Gabriele Cerulli. It's now an open source software project under the MIT license. I have not looked at the source code. I am going to try to make a canvas version of it. I think that'll be a little bit easier just to start than using DOM elements. And I'm going to use the P5 library to draw to the canvas. So what is the core? Let me first, before I get started coding, I really am very pessimistic about this. Let me try to talk through my understanding of how the game works and what kind of code stuff I might need. All right, so the game, by definition, is played on a 4x4 grid. Now again, there are obviously variations of this. This is not, there are predecessors to 2048 of the same game with slightly different designs and flavors and ideas. But the core idea of the 2048 game is 4x4 grid. It starts, I think, with 2 random spots filled in with either a 2 or a 4. And then you can press a key, right, up, left, down. Obviously on a mobile or touch version, you can swipe. And you send all the values. So if I swipe to the right, I send all the values this way. So the 2 and the 4 would end up here. Then maybe a new value pops in. If a 2 pops in here, and I swipe to the right again, numbers that are the same will combine. So these 2's will combine into a 4. And so let's go back and look at that. And we can kind of see, let's see that happening here, right? As I press down, nothing happens. If I press to the left, everything moves to the left. The 4 moves to the left. That 2, let me move that 2 up. And then let me move that over. Those 2 16s will combine, and those 2 2's will combine, and these 2 2's will combine. There we go. Now I can go down. So you get the idea. So what do I need? Well, actually, interestingly enough, all I need to figure out is if I have basically I have a matrix, a 2-dimensional array. But it's really just an array of arrays, and I did too many of them. So if I have 4, if I can figure out how to just condense things to one direction, then I don't know any One Direction songs. Otherwise, I would have started like singing as a joke, but I don't know the name One Direction. Anyway, I'm more of like a 98 degrees? I don't even remember. Whatever was in the like 1940s when I was a teenager. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh yes, 2048. If I can just get them, figure out how to do it in one direction, then if the user or the player presses up, I could kind of just rotate the whole thing and go in that direction. So let's see if we can figure this out. I need some kind of structure for doing this. Let's go to our code. And by the way, I just did a whole series on JavaScript array functions, higher order functions like map, fill, all that sort of stuff. So I think I can use that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a variable called grid. And grid is a new array with 4 spots in it. And what I'm going to do is in each of those spots, I'm going to fill it and map it with another new, map it with 0, 0, 0, 0. So I think what this would do, right? I got lost in my own world there. I never write code like this, but let's try this. So I'll explain this in a second. Let's see what happens here. An object array is not a function. Where's that? Line number 6. Oh, I need to. Can I just start that part over? I told you this was a bad idea. Now I'm going to try to use higher order functions. I'm going to get all lost. Okay. All right, so let's start writing some code. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have a variable called grid. And I want that grid to be a two-dimensional array, really just an array of arrays. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4 arrays. And I'm going to try to use, I just made a whole video series about higher order JavaScript functions and array functions. So let's try to use those. So the grid needs to have 4 rows. I'm going to think of those as rows. Then I can use this function called fill to fill each of those spots, and then map, and to say each of those spots is going to be an array with 4 zeros in it. So this is a pretty goofy, but this should allow me to, do I have an error here? And I say grid, undefined. Okay, so I got close. I got 4 undefined arrays. What can I, oh, can I do an empty array? And then fill it with empty arrays. And then have each array map to fill with 0. I'm never going to make the game 2048 because I'm going to spend all my time trying to make a two-dimensional array with fill and map. I'm like, let me fill it with empty arrays, then each one would be a new array, an array with 4 spots filled with zeros. I think this might actually work, right? Fill it with, can I just fill it with null though, right? So I can fill it with null. Are you still watching? I'm going to come back and do this again. Grid. I'm the worst. I'm like looking at the chat as if I'm going to be saved by the chat. Oh. I'm going to do this again. This is going to be like lots of, because this is new array for, oh, this should work. You know, okay, I got a better idea. Everybody, relax. I'm not doing it that way. I'm not doing it that way. Phil, okay, I'm not doing it that way. Come on. All right, let me come and write some code. I'm going to say, I'm going to have a variable called grid. And guess what? I'm just going to hard code it. I feel okay with that. Do you feel okay with that? I'm going to say, what is it? It's going to start as, it's basically this, right? I need to have 4 arrays of zeros. And let's see if, yeah, there we go. That's the 2048 board. I could try to say like new array and fill and map and all that stuff, all these like, but this is going to work. There we go. So now, what do I need to do first? The first thing that I need to do is for each, let's write a function to do this, is add, I don't know what to call this, add number. So what the add number function should do is it should pick a random location that that has a 0, and it should add a 2 or a 4 there. So what I'll do is, so first I need to check, is the whole board full of everything that's not, are there any 0 spots? So what I want to do, okay, so let's give, so let's make a list of all the possible spots that I can add. So I'm going to say, I'm going to make an array called options. And now what I'm going to do is, could I use, to get the index values out, I'm just going to loop through it. So I'm going to use I and j. I kind of have this idea that I'm going to use all these fancy array functions. I'm just going to loop through it. I and j. and I'm going to say if grid I, j equals 0, this is a valid spot, options dot push, and I'll just make a little array with I and j in it. Oh, maybe I'll make an object. X, I, Y, J. Okay? So I'm going to put a little object in that array. Now what I'm going to do is, once I'm done, I'm going to say let spot equal a random option. So if options.length is greater than 0, then I can pick a spot, and then I'm going to say grid spot.x spot.y spot.y equals, and I basically want to pick, either want to pick a 2 or a 4. So I can use a ternary operator. Ooh, I'm gone totally nuts today. Which basically what a ternary operator does is it says, okay, I'm going to pick a random number. And, okay, well, hold on. I'm going to pick a random number. R is a random number between 0 and 1. And I'm going to say, is R greater than 0.5? If it is, give me a 2. Otherwise, give me a 4. I think, and I don't know if this should be in parentheses or not. I don't think I need it. So this is a nice little way of just giving me, based on whether R is greater than 0.5, give me a 2 or a 4. I could have written an if statement, but everybody always complains when I don't use the ternary operator. So I'm going to try using it, and who knows if I got it right. So let's, in setup, I'm going to say console.log table. I'm going to say add number, and console.table grid. Console.table is a really nice way to display an array in the browser, in the JavaScript console in the browser. So let me do this. So I can say, look at that. Look at that. Let's do it again. 2 and 2. 2 and 2. All right. So in a way, like, I almost want to just do this, the entire thing in the console and not draw anything. Because I could just do the whole thing in the console and play the game. But I think it's going to be much easier if I can represent what we're seeing in the console in the canvas. So let's put that into draw. So here, this is my nested loop that I'm going to be using constantly. And I am going to first draw a rectangle. And I guess the size is always going to be the width divided by 4. You know, I think I can probably, for right now, just say it's 100. Like I can hard code a lot of stuff because it's 400 by 400, refactor later. And so I'm going to draw a rectangle at I times W, J times W, W, W. And I'm going to say no fill, stroke weight 2, stroke 0, and let's make the background 255. And I should see a nice grid now. There we go. I've got my nice grid. Now, what I should do, and this is almost like too big. I don't need that much space, okay? Now, and I'm going to move this over a little bit so I'm not standing in front of it so much. I am going to, now I should also say, if grid ij is not equal to 0, I could draw the number there. Now, let's just use the text function in P5. So I'm going to say text align center, text, I want to draw the value. So I should actually just, let me get the value. The value is grid ij. And so I'm going to draw that value at I times W minus W divided by 2. That's kind of like the center. J times W minus J divided by 2. W divided by 2. What does that do? And I'm going to say text size 64. I don't know. Fill 0, no stroke. This should be rendering it. And I should just put this in its own function just to kind of like get out of here. Function draw grid. And I'll call that in draw. So let's see how this goes. Hey, that's not so horrible. I've seen worse. So let's minus w divided by 4 about. Whoops. Oh, what happened here? J times, oh, wait. Does the text draw from, let's see this. So I'm seeing a 4, interestingly, I am seeing things in the wrong, differently than I'm seeing them here because of the way that I'm treating columns and rows. And I think I'm drawing stuff above. So it actually should be j times w plus w divided by 2. Why do I sometimes get one thing? Text align, text align center, center. That's what I meant to do. Thank you. Text align center, center. There we go. I knew that's what I wanted to do. But why am I sometimes getting only one number? Maybe I'm not anymore. All right, before I was getting one number, I'm not anymore. Why did I only get one number? Let's see, what's the grid? 0, 2, 0, 0, 0, 4, 0 is in 3. Oh, I'm like, hold on. Let's say let's actually draw the, coordinates. Look at me. I have everything shifted over wrong. That's clearly the problem. So my x location is I times w minus plus. What am I doing the minus for? It's a plus. Oh, I lost my mind. Oh, what a terrible error. That's much better. Sorry you had to sit through that. So now it's fine. And now I can put the value there. There we go. So now this should work. This is my opening board no matter what. Whew. Okay, we're getting there. 2048, here we come. So now, what's the deal? I'm just going to say, for right now, whenever I hit the space bar, I'm going to send everything to the right. So what I need to do, okay, so let's think about this. If I have an array of numbers, and there's so many different ways you could approach this problem, and I'm sure I'm not going to do it in the most efficient or sensical way. But the first thing that I would do, like let's say this is the row. The first thing that I would do is just pack everything to the right so that any empty spots would be left on the left side. So let's first do that. So let's write a function called slide. So I'm going to write a function called slide, and it takes a row, which is an array. And again, I might have, thank you. I know I'm in the wrong camera. All right. Okay, let's go over here. So I'm going to write a function called slide, and I'm going to give it an argument, a row. Now, I know that I probably am mixing up my rows and columns. I'll have to figure that out later. But I'm going to assume row is just a single array. And what I want to do is I want to look through. I'm going to take that row, and I want to filter out. I could use filter to, I mean, it's sort of silly. I just want to move everything over if it's not a 0. So let's try using some array functions. I'm going to say row equals, I'm going to want to return, I'm going to want to return an array. So array equals row.filter. So this is actually going to keep everything that is not a 0 in the same order. This is kind of crazy, but filter is a function that takes any value, and let me just, and that does a true or false test. A map would be interesting here too. Well, anyway, I'm going to do this. So this should, just so you see, then I'm going to say return array. So first I'm just going to oh, no. And then what I need to do is I need to say, I need to add however many, so however many the array, so like the missing is, oh, I could just sort, no, I can't sort it. Missing equals 4 minus array.length. And I'm just going to, I'm going to say, and then I'm going to say missing, let zeros equal an array of missing size filled with zeros. And then I should be able to just say array dot put. Now, how do you put something on the front of the array? Push would go on the back, which maybe is fine because I could be sliding that other way. Just be sliding the other way. So I'm going to say push the zeros, and then return the array. Let me just test this function out, right? So the idea here, and let me get rid of this console, console.table stuff. Where is that? Yeah. I don't need that anymore. So let's say I want to say slide, and my array is 0, 0, 2, 4. Ah, okay. So push doesn't do that. It doesn't push. I'd use concat maybe. Concat. Where's my slide? Array concat zeros. No. How do I join? Join? Concatenate. Concatenate. Let's look at the array page. Mozilla array. Concat. Oh, it makes a new array. It makes a new array. Okay. So I need to say array equals array concat zeros. Okay, there we go. Now let's take a look at this. Let's get out of here, go back to here. Oh, there we go. It slides everything to the left. Yeah, and let's just try some other things. Slide 4, 0, 2, 4. 4, 2. Okay, so that's good. Everything's going that way, which is fine. I don't care which direction. That's fine with me. So now I should say every time I press a key, I'm just going to use the space bar right now. If key equals space, what I want to do is loop over the grid and say grid index I equals slide grid index I. Right? So this is sliding them over for each one. Oh, they're going up. So that's great. So after I do that, right, each time I play the game, like this is one move, so to speak, then I should add a number again. Add another 2 or a 4 randomly. Great. This appears to be doing what it's supposed to be doing. Be nice to have an animation, but there is no animation. Now there's no more room left. That's fine. Okay. All right. So now I need to combine. So just like I have this slide function, now I need a combine function. So assuming that I've slid everything one way or the other, what I need to do is if there are 2 that match starting from the back, they should be combined into one number. All right? I know this is where I ran into a problem before. I'm going to need somebody who's watching this live to help me. Oh, if nothing moves, no tiles should be added. Okay. I'm going to get to that later. Yes, so that's a part of the game. We don't. If you're done, if nothing can move, you can't add another tile. But remind me. I need to fix that. I need to fix that at some point. So let's do combine. So if I have a row, what I want to do, can I use reduce, filter? Then I could loop through it for sure. So let me try doing this very manually right now. Let me loop from the back. right? Let me loop from the back all the way down. And first I want to say, and I actually just want to go to here, because I want to say A is this one, right? The current one that I'm at, like the last one. And B is row I minus 1. And if A equals B, then row I should equal A plus B, and row I minus 1 should equal 0. And then I shouldn't do any more, so I'm going to say break. So this is, again, I'm going to need to do more, but there's probably a way for me to write this shorter, but I'm just going to go from the back and check the last two. Like, what am I doing? Whoops, I'm in the wrong keyboard. I'm going to check. So if this is, so if it got, I've already slid everything. So if it's like this, I'm going to check this one versus this one. If they're the same, this becomes 0 and this becomes 4. Now, if this were here, I still have to do more. I've got to slide again, but let's see here. Now, I should be able to, now I should say, where am I? I want to slide the grid. Oh, and so hold on. Oh, I'm actually operating on the row itself. So in this case, I don't need to, this is a little awkward. I'm making a new array to send back, and here I'm operating on that array. So this is a bit awkward, but I'm just going to remember that. So I'm just going to write a comment. Operating on array itself, making new array. And so now I'm going to say, after I slide, I'm going to combine. So I'm going to combine. Let's see if this works. OK, I forget what I just pressed. Spacebar. And everything goes up. Oh boy. Error. Error. Cannot read property 0 of undefined at add number sketch.js line 20. Sketch.js line 20. If grid, oh, add number. Oh, I messed up something. Oh, because silly me, if I am not returning array. This is terrible. So this one returns a new array. This one acts on it. Oh, I gotta clean that up later. That's not good. I don't like that. Okay, now things move up. Things move up. Things move up. Oh, those should combine. Those should combine to be an 8. Nope. Nope. Oh, those combine to be an 8. Ooh, something is wrong. Oh, I must be looking the wrong direction. I must be actually, because I'm doing stuff backwards. So actually, that's fine. I'm doing it backwards. I could really think about this, but I have a feeling that I just wrote the code backwards, which is fine. I can go backwards. Let's do this. Now those should combine to be a 4. Ooh. Oh no. This is all wrong. All wrong. All wrong. All wrong. Oh. Just return the array and then who cares? Yeah. Let me go back to that. Mathieu, this is going to be a backup moment because instead of doing this. So let me actually just say return the row. Even though it's the same array, I can return a reference to itself, and that's going to fix it. Now, here's the thing. I don't think this is working. So those two should combine to be a 4. They're not at the moment, and something weird is going on. So let me look at my code again. I plus 1. No. OK, hold on. If I'm going through it backwards, I start at 3, and I want to look at 3 and 2. Then I want to look at 2. Yeah, this is right. So hold on. Okay. These move up. So hold on. Okay. I need to, I don't know why I'm being crazy here. I need to do some tests here. So this is actually, my algorithm is correct according to this. I think I have not been very thoughtful. Right? My algorithm is doing what I want it to do. The combine algorithm is doing this correctly. So why is this not working? It's probably because I am drawing this not matching the way that I'm actually thinking of it. So how can I think about that? Like, what if, am I actually like, hold on. Wait, I'm reading the chat. I plus 1. Oh, that's from before. I hate this. I hate 2048. Like, this is correct. So am I going backwards? And what I actually need is... No, hold on. Your combination is backwards till you set the wrong one to 0. Really? Oh, because I have it, because I'm reversed. Switch the rows, line 60. Everyone's saying that the same thing, which I think you're right. Okay. All right. So hold on. Let me try to make some continuity for Mathieu. Let me check. Let me do something smart here. Hold on. Let me do something smart here and check my actual combine function. Whoops. Okay, hold on. Sorry, everybody. Let me do something smart here and try to actually check my combine function. Like this should give me, that's correct. That's correct. So these are correct. So I'm doing something goofy here in the way that I'm rendering it, and I think because I have everything flipped, thank you to the chat for telling me this, I think this should be 0 and this should be a plus b. Let's see if that fixes it. Okay, I hit the space bar, whoops, and things move up, and things move up, and things move up. Oh, come on, give me something to combine. So why is it not combining? It's combining in the wrong, first combine, then slide. Your combination is backwards still. You set the wrong one to 0. 0, 4, 2, 2 should be 0, 4, 4, 0. Oh, I should do a matrix. You were right. Just slide it, then combine, then slide. Oh, it's working. I just need to slide it again? No. Because these 4 and 4 should combine. So everything's moving up. Oh, but it did then? That's so weird. I'm only checking the adjacent spaces. Combine combines only if elements are 1 next to each other. I know. Now this works. I just think that do the combine test in the console again. Okay. Combine. Zero, 4, 2, 2. Ah! Right. That's why I had it this way originally. Now, combine is... That's what I want it to be because these two should combine, right? And then I do slide again, and this comes over, right? Then I want to do slide of 0, 4, 0, 4. Oh, it's going the other way. Slide goes the other way. Slide goes the other way. Combine goes the other way. Ah, okay. Mathieu, back all the way up. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, let me try to be smart about this here, and let's try to do some work in the console. So if I say combine 0, 4, 2, 2, that's right, 0, 4, 2, 2. Those two get combined. Now I need to slide that. Slide 0, 4, 0, 4. And that slid the other way. So I'm combining the opposite way that I'm sliding, which is definitely a problem. So maybe what I should do is just slide the other way around, which would be, let me think about this. I could just reverse it, right? But that's probably a bad idea. What I should just do is, right? No. I can just say zeros concat array, right? I could just put the zeros on the other side. Yeah, that should do it, right? So now, if I say combine 0, 4, 2, 2, 0, 4, 0, 4, then slide 0, 0, 4, 4. Okay, this seems right now. So now hit spacebar. 8, yep, it slid down. 2, 4, 2, 2, 2, 4. Yep. Okay, this is working now. Okay, now I'm sure there's going to be lots of scenarios that aren't correct. So what I need to do also is after I combine, we need to slide again. Right? Because, and so really what I kind of want is I need operate row equals operate on the row. So let me make this one function where I get an array and I say row equals slide, row equals combine, row equals slide, and then return row. So I just want to do this in a function. And in some ways this is kind of silly what I'm doing here, but I just want this to be a separate function so I can call it myself. So now, oops, sketch.48, return, I forgot my R. Okay. So now, what I want to do is I want to say operate on 0, 0, 2, 2. That should now be 0, 0, 0, 4. Operate is not defined. I didn't refresh. I is not defined. Oh, silly me. These are no longer grid index I. These are row. Okay, we're moving along here. Operate. Ah, that's good. Okay, operate. That's right. Now here's what's going to be wrong. Right? This now should be 0, 0, 4, 4. Is that correct? So I need to do it one more time. But I need to be careful because this should not go to 8. So how do I consider that? Oops. So how do I consider those two as different scenarios? I mean, certainly, right, if I just run this again, right, it can only happen twice because there's only 4 spots. But this isn't going to be correct because, like this, Oh, did I refresh? This gave me the correct response, but this is going to give me the incorrect. This should be 0, 2, 4. This would be 0, 2, 4, 4. And I got 0, 2, 0, 8 because the 4 and the 4 combined. Me, I am, so me is telling me that this should be 0, 4, 0, 4. I don't think so. Wouldn't it? It would all slide together. It should be 0, 4, 0, 4. Oh, that's easier. How do I... Let's look at this game for a second. No, 0, 0, 0, 4. Okay, good. Sorry. Okay, so this is correct. But how do I protect? I need to do combine. Yeah, 0, 0, 0, 4. Okay. So I suppose what I could do is the second time I do combine, I could start from the second to last spot. Right? Just start from the second to last spot. Or do combine twice before sliding. That's an interesting idea. Will this actually do the trick? So let's say operate 2, 4, 2, 2. 0, 2, 4, 4. That is correct. Oh, interesting. Can anybody, let me think of, I think that actually worked. Are there any other scenarios that wouldn't work? Like operate 0, 2, 2, 4. Let's try this one. This should be 0, 0, 0, 4. Ah, that's not right. Oh, is this correct? This wouldn't work, right? This should give me 0, 0, 4, 4, right? It is 0, 0, 4, 4. So the break so actually, am I just being silly and I just need to do combine once but get rid of the break? And so let me think about this. Let's look at the combine. If I get rid of the break, so I think, here's what I could do. So I think this is it. Oops. This is what I think I can do. Let's say I have, this is the case that's a little bit weird. I have 0, 4, 2, 2. If I do this, and now try to combine again, and then slide, these won't go together. And if I do this, then this should give me 0, 4, 0, 4, and then slide, they will go together. So I think, I'm thinking this through, I think that I can actually, get rid of the break and just call combine once and call slide again after. That's correct. That's correct. What was another one of my scenarios? And that is correct. The break is so silly. I thought I was being smart by getting out of there, but actually I just need to combine everything and then slide everything. Ha 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 ha. Okay, wonderful. I think we're just about kind of done. Right? so now I need to, oops, what did I do? Row is not defined, a key pressed. Okay, wait, I messed something up. Row, equals operate, blah, 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 operate on grid index I. So this gets passed in. Okay. Hey, well, how come this isn't, what did I do now? Slide, combine, slide. Wait, what just happened? Oh! This has to be grid. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let's actually look at it now. Oh yeah, I messed something up. Where's that? Line 38. Oh, look at silly me. These are grid index I. And down here, I'm passing it into row, so they're row here. Very silly thing that I've done here. Okay, so now hit space. Yep. This to me is the behavior of the game. Now, here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. I shouldn't be adding numbers if nothing moved. So one thing I have to check is if anything moved. So one thing that I might do is right here, I might create, what I think I'd like to do is let past equal copy grid. So let me make a function, copy grid, where past equals, this is very silly, but I'm just going to do this. Past equals a new two-dimensional array, and then our copy grid extra. I'm going to call it extra. Extra equals a new copy, and then I'm just going to I'm going to use my nested loop, which I have somewhere else. I'm sure I could just use slice or something, but I just don't have it within me right now. Why did I do 2048? Extra I, j equals grid I, j. Okay, so and then I'm going to say return extra. So that's just a total copy of the two-dimensional array because sorry, I spaced out for a second because my phone was buzzing. Someone's telling me that 2242 is wrong. That's correct. Isn't that what it would do? The game 2048? It's going to combine those twos and slide everything over. Yeah, okay. Where am I looking for? I have too much code. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, so past is now a copy, and now this is the new grid. So I can check to see if anything changed. So I can say changed equals compare copy and grid. Okay, so I'm going to write another function. This is all very silly, but called compare, where I have two different matrices. And I'm going to say if A does not equal to B, return Something changed. Return true. So true means something changed. I'm going to check every spot. As soon as something's not equal, something moved. And then if I get all the way to the end, I'll just return false. So now I should only add a number if changed. Now add a number. Okay, here we go. Oops. So P5 doesn't like that I called something copy. So I'm going to call this copy grid. And I'm going to do this. So now I should be able to say whoops. Oh, cannot read property 0 of undefined at compare, sketch.js line 37. So A and B in compare. Oh, and this is called, this should be passed. This is why I shouldn't use the word copy. This is passed. That should be passed. Okay, no, nothing's moving, so I don't get a new number. Nothing's moving, so I don't get a new number. Got a new number, got a new number, got a new number, got a new number. Nothing's moving, got a number. All right. So ends part 1 of 2048, where I have the entire game mechanic, but only for going in one direction. One direction. I'm going to take a short break and have a part 2 to the 2048 challenge where I deal with the rotation of the matrix. And I hope you enjoy watching that part, and then the game will be finished. Okay, what time is it? It's 4:50. I don't have a lot of time left, people. I'm pretty sure this is correct. I now have the entire correct game mechanic minus the rotation. Yeah, can anybody give me a combination that they think will not work? For example, that's correct. That is correct. That is correct. 2222, 2248. 2248. That is correct. So I'm pretty confident. 44816. I think I'm pretty good. Yep, that's correct also. 2882. All right, let's try that one. 2882. That's correct. That is correct. All right, I've got it. All right, everybody. 2002. I'm pretty sure that's going to work, but that's the last one I'm going to do. That is correct also. All right, I think we're in good shape here. Now, so I can do this. Welcome back. I'm here trying to, this is like the most painful thing I've ever done in my entire life, and I can't believe that you're watching this, but you are. I'm trying to make the game 2048, and I have gotten so far as to make the game work, but only in, what's a One Direction song? Somebody tell me. Only in one direction, which is down. So if I hit the space bar, everything will move down. Now, it would be really nice for you to be able to see an animation, to have a sense that what it's really doing. And we haven't seen anything combine yet. Let's, come on, get something to combine. There we go. But you can see that everything's coming down and the numbers are combining when they're equal. This is exactly like how the game 2048 plays. Of course, this is much nicer to have a nice animation and different colors and all that sort of stuff. But what I need to do is I need to be able to go in any direction. So let's at least double check here in key pressed that I can say, I think, if key equals up arrow, let me look in, I can't remember what the constants are in P5. Up arrow is something. Yeah, is 38. So, and what if I say console.log key? So I think I probably want the key code because the key, it's not giving me the number. I think I want this. Yeah. So key code is what I want. I want key code equal to up arrow. And I can use a switch statement. I'm not going to. Down arrow. So down is what it's doing already. Let's just try to get up and down. So if key code equals down arrow, do nothing. Do nothing. If key code equals up arrow, what I need to do is just flip everything, right? So I can go through and I can say flip grid equals flip grid, right? I just want to flip the grid. So I can write a function called flip for any two-dimensional array. And I'm going to go through all 4 rows. And I'm just going to say grid index I. If I say dot reverse on an array, does it return in a new array? Let A equal 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A dot reverse. So it actually reverses the array. So it operates on that same array. So I can say grid index I reverse. I can say let flipped equal false. Flipped equals true. So I want to flip it. Then I want to, I'm going to assume I'm only going to press the arrow keys. And then I'm going to flip it again. So, I don't need to return it. I just need to flip it. So I'm going to flip the grid. And then if it was flipped, flip it back. So this should be this is just like for up and down. This should work for up and down. Let's see if this works. A little crazy thing that I've done here. Down. Whoops. Down. Okay, down. Let's go up. Up. Down. Up. Down. Down. Up. Down. Down. Up. Down. Up. This is totally working. Down, up, down, and eventually the game's going to be over because I don't have any more moves left. Okay, so that works. Whew. So now I need else if key code equals right arrow. Now I need to rotate the grid. Ooh. Grid equals rotate the grid. So I need to rotate it. Let's rotate the grid. I think I want a new array. So by the way, I want a function. This is very silly. I want to have a function. I put it all the way at the top called blank grid. And what that does is it just returns this. Because I need to do this quite a bit, just give me a blank one. So now I can say grid equals blank grid. Yeah, I love that. And then somewhere else where I did the crazy copy thing, extra equals blank grid. So that's going to be much nicer. Because what I want to do when I rotate it, and I need to call it rotate grid. And I should probably be consistent here and say flip grid with my naming. Flip grid. Flip grid. And I definitely should break this up into different files and maybe organize my code. Boy, I got to refactor this stuff. Flip grid. Change this to flip grid. Now I'm going to write one called rotate grid. Now, this shouldn't be too hard. I should just do a nice little nested loop. And I should create a new grid is a blank grid. And then in the new grids I, j, I take the old grids j, I. And now, so what this would do is now I want to rotate the grid, and then I'm going to have to unrotate it. Can I just rotate it a few more times? So let's see. So I'm going to have a variable called let rotate equal false, rotated. So this is rotated equals true. Then what I'm going to do, if rotated, then what should I do? I just want to rotate it a few more times. Right? Rotate it once, twice, 1, 2, 3. Only 3 more times. I'll get back, right? That's brilliant coding right there. Let's see if this works. So first of all, let's just say I have a let A equal new grid, a blank grid. Whoops. Okay, so A is this, and I can say console.table A. So you can see that's what it looks like. And I'm going to say, actually, let's just do this. So what am I looking for at grid? So console.table grid. Maybe I shouldn't bother trying this debugging. I should just do it. Then I'm going to say rotate grid, grid, and console.table that. All right, hold on. Oh yeah, got the other one. All right. Okay, hold on. Let's see what happens. Mathieu, edit that whole part out. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to hit up. Whoops. Let me just do the up and the down still. Clear this. What is going on? Hold on. Up. Oh, why? Oh, it like leaves what I was last typing if I hit clear. Just hold on. Fighting with the computer for no reason. All right, let's give this a try. Up, down, up, down. Those work. What did I have to press? Right arrow? Okay, got an error. Cannot set property undefined at rotate grid sketch.js line 71. Rotate grid. New grid is a blank grid. IJ equals grid JI. Oh, look at this. That's really bad. That's really bad. J. Okay. Let's try this again. Down, up. Right? Okay, got another error. Cannot read property undefined at copy grid sketch.js line 53. Copy grid. Extra equals blank grid. Is my blank grid function not working? Oh, return. No, that looks good. Copy grid, grid. Sketch line 53. So what did I do here? Hold on a sec. Get rid of this. This again. Cannot write property 0. I'm going to sketch.js line 53. What did I miss here? Let's look at this. Grid is nothing here. Where am I calling copy grid where I'm sending it nothing? Past equals copy grid grid. That's the only place. Rotate grid is messing something up. Rotate grid does not return the new grid. There we go. Return the new grid, rotate grid. Thank you very much. Ha! This is totally working. Up, down, up, right. Now I can't go to the left. So now I need, this is no problem though. Watch this. This is total insanity. But else if key code equals left arrow, now grid equals rotate grid. I want to rotate it and then flip grid. Grid equals flip grid. And you know what? I should just always return a reference. Like even though, because it's just too confusing to keep track of which functions do which. So I'm going to go back to my flip grid function. Scroll, and just say return grid. So now, if I'm going to the left, I could rotate it, then flip it. And grid equals flip. And so here, not only is it rotated, but it's also flipped. So then I can flip it back and rotate it 3 times, and I should be good. Now here's the thing. I should only be doing this if I press one of these keys. So I'm going to make a variable called played equals false. And I'm going to say played equals true. And again, this can really be refactored. Really, I should do a part 3 of this to refactor this probably. But all 4 of these keys I'm playing. And so now if I have played, then I can do all this crazy nonsense. If it's changed, add a number. Otherwise, console.log game. Well, it's not game over because it's only if I have no moves left. So I'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, let's see. What's the chance? Oh yeah, I could use else. Played is true. Right? I can assume that I've played. But in all other cases, I can at least make this a little better. In all other cases, right? If it's some other key, played is false. So I'm going to assume that I've played. And now, let's see. Okay, down. Whoops. Down. Okay, down. Down is combining to the right, to the right, to the right, to the left, up, to the right, to the right, to the left, down, to the right, down. Whoops, I don't know what I just did. To the right. I'm pretty sure this is actually working. It actually is doing what it's supposed to do. And hooray. Great. Okay, so this is the functionality of the game. There's going to be a part 3. This is 3 in 3 parts. Part 3, I will add the score and determine if there's no moves left. Okay? So that's what I need to do. And I think that what I can do is maybe in part 3, I might refactor a few things. I'm getting some good suggestions from the chat. Okay? All right. Thanks for watching this so far. Wow, I think I might have made 2048 by accident somehow. Okay. That's a transpose, not a rotation. Yeah. Okay, so I'll switch it to transpose. Then what do I need to do? How does the score work in 2048? Make the 64. Okay. Let me actually get to a point where I can't make any more moves. Let's see if I get an error. Whoa, what just happened there? Yeah, the font size is going to be a problem once I get to 128. I think... All right, I just want to see, I want to get stuck. I think it's giving me... I get a new number every time I move, right? Let me try to play this poorly. Oh, I got 128. Yeah, I think this is correct. It's so, without the animation, it's like really weird. Can anybody see any mistakes? You can't tell what I'm pressing is the problem. I want to get stuck before, shouldn't I be able to get... You can get stuck before the board fills up. That's what I don't understand. I seem to only be able to get stuck if, yeah, the newest number could be a new color. That's a good idea. Okay. All right, so the two things I need to add. Let me just play the real game here for a second, like poorly. No. Yeah, I guess you're only going to lose, when you lose, the whole board is filled up, right? Because otherwise I could always move up and down. So I think it's playing correctly. Yeah, game over. So let's look at this. Okay. Let me find the score. The user score starts at 0 and is incremented whenever two tiles combine by the value of the new tile. Okay. The game is won when a tile of the value 2048 appears on the board. When the player has no legal moves, there are no empty spaces and no adjacent tiles with the same value. Okay. So this should be easy to figure out. So okay, so let's make a list of some things to add in part 3. The score is going to be easy. The game being over shouldn't be too hard. Adding a fill. I think I'm not going to do the animations because I could come back and do that another day. But I'm happy to add the color. I need to deal with how does the real game deal with the fonts? Oh, I need to deal with the font size. So the font size should be dynamic. Okay. I am so exhausted and tired. 5:15. I got to go really soon. Okay. Part 3 of my 2048 coding challenge. So what am I trying? What do I got here? I actually have, it's very hard to follow without animations, and maybe I'll come back and add animations in another part, but I have the full game mechanic available to play right now. So the things that I want to add in this video are, number 1, score. Number 2, a test to see if I've run out of moves, to say game over. And number 3, I want to be more thoughtful. Like if I could ever play it well enough to get to 128, you would see that it wouldn't fit. I'm just like randomly making moves right now. So I need to deal with the font size to make it more dynamic. So let's try to do some of that stuff. So according to the game rules, I'm going to say let score equal 0. Whenever you combine two tiles, your score goes up by the value of that combined amount. So we can say here, wherever I have my combine function, and again, this would be so helpful to organize this. So right here, whenever I combine, if A and B, I can say score plus equal A plus B. Or why don't I say row index I, just for the sake of. So I added those two. The score goes up by that much. Now, let me just really, really quickly in the body add a paragraph ID score. And again, I'm not going to be, this is a very like crude way of doing it, but I'm just going to, using the P5 DOM library, in the draw function, I'm going to say I'm going to say select score.html score. So now, you should see there's the score. And let's just go and say something really silly like style, body, text size, or is it font size, text size, 32 point, just so it's a little bigger. And then close style. Add a little CSS. This is me adding CSS to the code very poorly because it's not font size. Oh, font size. No? How come I don't know? How come I don't know CSS anymore? Oh, P. Oh, there's no colon here. There we go. Oh, look at that. Let's just do P. Hold on. Ah! This is what always happens to me. DOM manipulation. Horror. Just ignore me. Just pretend I'm not even here. Don't watch me. Okay, let's make that score a little bit bigger. And I'm just going to say style. I'm just going to put it inline style here. Style equals font size 32 point. That should do the trick. There we go. And now, okay, so now I should have the score. I'm pretty sure this is working correctly as it's supposed to. So now I have my score. All right, boy, am I doing great. So I added a score. That's wonderful. Now I need to add a check to see if I've finished playing the game. So how do I do that? So in the main code, and by the way, this is the other thing that's terrible. I don't want to have a draw loop here. I should really just be, update canvas. I should in setup, oh, look at all this code. This is horrific. I should say no loop. And again, I'm going to need to animate later, so I'm going to need the draw loop back. But just for right now, in key pressed, where I say if the game was played, I'm going to say update canvas. So now, and I should do it at least once at the beginning, update canvas. So now at least performance-wise, I'm not like spinning the browser, using the processor over and over again to redraw the same thing. Okay, so now I need a check. When I've played, I need to, right here, I need to do is game over. So I'm going to write a function. I'm just going to put it on the top right now. Function is game. Actually, we kind of know. Here's the thing. The game is over when? If the board is full and nothing can be combined. So actually, all I need to do is see if the game is over if there are no, if the, the game is over if there are no numbers next to each other that are identical and the board is full. So there's no zeros. So I can write a function. I will write this function. Function is game over. And I'm going to say, I'm going to do a loop. I'm going to get my double loop, which I have everywhere. And for each spot, I'm going to assume game over is true. And I'm going to, for each spot, if the grid ij equals 0, then the game is not over. Return false. So if there's a 0, the game's not over because I can move. If grid ij equals grid ij plus 1, so I could check everything to the right and just go 0 through 3. But I'm going to have to check the 4 for a 0, I think. If it's equal, then something can be combined. Return false. If grid ij equals grid I plus 1 j, then also the game is not over. So the game is not over, and really, so the game is not over if there's any zeros, or, and so I'm going to check every single spot, but I'm only going to check the edges if I is not equal to 3 and there's 2 that are the same, or if j is not equal to 3 and they're 2 the same. So this should tell me if I get through every single spot and it's not equal to what's to the right of it or to below it, or it's not a 0, then the game is over. And so if I get to the end, I'm going to say return true. I don't actually need this Boolean variable at the beginning. This is my ridiculous function now to determine if the game is over. And where did I check it here? So I'm going to say let game over equals is game over. And if game over, console.log game over. OK, let's see if this works. Oh, sketch.js line 13 has an error. If j, oh, I'm missing a curly bracket somewhere. I have an extra parentheses. There we go. OK, here we go. Let's take this again. Line 21, I have an extra bracket here now. OK, let's try to make the game over. I'm just going to rely on my random whatever. The game was not over. It's got to be over eventually. There we go. Uncaught type error. Cannot read sketch.js line 13, property 0 of undefined. So I got into a funny place here. So now the game is over. But I got an error when the game ended. If j is, oh, whoops, look at this. I got to be checking j here and I here. I did this in like a weird order. I want to do I first and j second. So that was a mistake. But I should build in something to test it without having to like go crazy playing it. But, you know, eventually I'll get to the game over. Game over. OK, yay, game over. It actually tells me the game is over because there are no more moves left. OK, now we need to, let's add a little bit of color and change the font size. So where do I draw the text? Here. So text size should be actually a function. I'm going to map the value, which goes between 0 and 248. And when it's 248, it should be 16 point, and when it's 0, it should be 64. So it's bigger. Maybe it's like 16 point when it's 2048. So let's try this. Why is the font size not changing? Is it oh, it's font size, not text. Okay. Oh, and it also has to be this. No, it's text size. But I got to use the variable. Oh. Is it font size? I don't know. Apparently, I don't know P5. Oh, font size is not a function. Font size is not a function. The value, map the value, text size. How come that's not working? What did I do? Text size. Losing my mind here. Value goes between 0 and 2048. When it's 0, it's 64. Yeah, I know I need to like, but it should be slightly different. Oh, it is slightly different. It's just so, yeah. No, that's kind of what I want. Hold on. Can I get a bigger number? Oh, I need to use, oh, my scaling is crazy. So, no wonder. Okay, I need to use, it's just like, it's barely changing because I'm going from 0 to 24. Okay. Okay, so this was kind of a nice idea, but now I'm realizing that basically I really need to shrink it exponentially as it goes down. So I really should take like the log of the value. Maybe I could, and then that'll go from 0 between the log of 0 and 2048. Will this do the trick for me to have logarithmic scale? Yeah, you can see it's getting, but ultimately, yeah, so this is better using logarithmic scale. It's a little bit nonsensical because really I have a better idea. Like, let's get rid of this for a second. Let's just convert it into a string. So this is me making a string from the value. And then I want to get the length of that string. And then the font size, text size, should be I can make an array, right? Sizes equals, okay, so if it's 1, I want it to be 64. If it's 2, I want it to be 64. If it's 3, maybe 32. And if it's 4, 10, 24, 248, let's make it 16. So now I just want to say sizes just based on that length. So I could just see how long is the string and then pull one of these from the array based on the length is now an index into that array. And that should give me, I have to play it for a little. Yeah, 16. Which is 2. Oh! This it would be 0. So length plus or minus 1. Apologies for that. So now if I get to 3, I'm going to have to get to 10. You're going to have to trust me on this. This is going to require a lot of editing. So I'll come back in a minute. Play this. I'm not even paying attention to like how I'm playing it. How can I get those 264s? There we go, 128. Okay. Oh, I'm back because I finally got a 128, and you can see the 128 is smaller. Oh boy, you could do so many better ways of doing that. Okay, so now, obviously I could map a color to the background, I could do animations, but this is really it. I now have essentially the full game. I have a mechanism for trying to figure out, I could map a color to each number easily by having some kind of lookup table. But at some point, maybe I'll come back and try to animate this. But please, make your own version of this. Improve it. This is the end of this coding challenge. I have made 2048. Is that what it's called? Goodbye. Log base 2 is what I wanted to do, yeah. I know, I could just insert the values into the grid, would make a lot more sense. Let's play this for a little bit more. Game is over. I don't know, at least I made it. Whether this can be made into something that people could watch, I have no idea. But at least now I'm playing it a little better. It's actually really hard to do this without the animation. The animation really helps you kind of see the board better. What'll be fun is to have an AI play this, which I don't think, there we go, 128. Got 128 faster now. Should have done polymorphism. Lerp the background color, it'll be much nicer looking. Yeah. Colors would be awesome. I didn't add color. I'll just add color for you all here. Where do I do this? Fill. Do lerp color between. I don't feel like doing this right now. I gotta go. It's 5:30. I gotta go. So this is all I got to today. Color the new numbers that are coming. Oh, color the new numbers that were coming. No, Benjamin, I do see your comments. How about refactoring the code? I would like to do that. I'm gonna have to come back, explain log base 2, and do color. These are all such good suggestions. I'm gonna have to come back another time. I will publish this code. It is a monster. And can we get early access to the code? Yes. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to do this in a ridiculous way that if I had unit tests, it would, I'm going to go to coding challenges, and I'm just going to go and grab, somebody can quickly pull request renaming this correctly and everything. Actually, and I can say, this will be coding challenge, if it actually ever makes it to something, it'll be coding challenge what? 93? What's the last one right now? No, 94 was double perceptron. I mean, double pendulum. Oh, my brain is so dead. So it'd be 94. Whoa. Coding challenge, 94, 2048. Coding challenge 94. Commit directly to the master branch. So the code is now on GitHub. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, 5:34. I got to go, everybody. All right, thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here with these live streams. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I would consider doing a part 4 for this, which would add in color and animation. So I will think about that. Mathieu, I will message you this while I'm thinking of it. I could possibly on Tuesday come and do some cleanup for this. So if we need to do anything of some intros and outros, or figure out some things to help make this actually a coding challenge that could be edited, then I would be glad to do that. So thank you, everyone. I hope I won't be here next Friday. There will be no live stream next Friday. I will be working hopefully on that neural network JavaScript repository. So stay tuned, follow that. And oh, that's cool. A greedy agent, one that chooses the move with the most points. With a tie, chooses randomly. Kay Weekman is saying that would be a fun thing to add. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, make the sizes a hash. Great suggestions. And I will be back next week. The code should be there now. Yep, there it is. 94. OK. Goodbye, everybody. And when will I do neural networks? I will come back. I mean, I have a long list of stuff to do with that topic, and I will get to it as soon as I can. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future live stream.